Hello and welcome to the Womxn Show. I'm Lenina Rasool, and today we are speaking about gender-based violence in small towns alongside a new documentary that has just been launched that follows community workers in small towns who are dealing with this issue. Now, Dorpie, the documentary follows Lana O'Neill, who is the founder of Heavenly Promise Safe House in Bredasdorp. We are going to play a short trailer of Dorpie before we go into the conversation. Let's have a look.
Bredasdorp is reeling from yet another murder of a young girl.
Sulnita Mano, gang raped, her genitals mutilated, her naked and beaten up body found displayed outside a fence in a public area.
Hallo? Niemand die? Bessie? Kom gee.
Kind dat jy alleen is so.
Nou,
Wat gebruik jy alles?
net ek en papa.
You don't feel welcome in this town. I think it's because of my work. I'm here to help the vulnerable and the poor. Sheila, ek kyk agter die kind ook nie, as ek haar onder die brug gaan vang. Dan gaan julle weggestuur word, dan gaan ek die maatskaplike werkers hulle met julle wegstuur en jy gaan mos Garabou toe as jy mors, né?
Waar is Bessie?
En julle anders van ek moet nie brug toe gaan nie, né? Julle bly van die brug af, dan gaan wonderlike goed aan. Wat is jy nou in petrol of kom?
Niks hier, Lana. Dis skoon.
Die jokkie is nie skoon nie.
Hier gaan Lana.
Jou werkie. Julle ruk jou reg, man, jy's een van die oudstes hierso. People must just come together, get out of their luxury homes. But as long as the community say, it's not my problem, it's their problem, they want to be like that, we're always going to have another rape or another murder.
That was the trailer to the documentary Dorpie, documenting gender-based violence in small towns. We are going to take a short break, but we'll be back with more after this. Welcome back. You're still watching The Womxn Show, and today we are speaking about gender-based violence in very small towns based on a new documentary that is out called Dorpie, and it follows Lana O'Neill, who partly runs the Heavenly Promise Safe Haven, which is a safe house, an independent safe house in Bredasdorp. And with me in studio, I'm so excited, is Julia Yaki, who is the director of Dorpie, and joining us via Zoom is Lana O'Neill. Ladies, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much for having us. It's really an honor. Thank you.
Lana,
Thank you for inviting us.
yeah, Lana, I'm going to start with you because, you know, on the Womxn Show, we discuss and we unpack gender-based violence. And so I wanted to say this documentary follows you through your work running a safe house in Bredasdorp. But before we speak about that documentary, I wanted to get a sense, and I think give the audience a sense of how gender-based violence, the rates of gender-based violence in Bredasdorp, in small towns, And just to pull out, one of the things that we noted in the press kit is that this safe house is the only one in the Overberg region. And so also just what that is like.
Yes, it is. It's in Heavenly Promise 48. It's an independent safe haven for abused women, adult abused women and dependents. And we're the only one at the moment in the Overberg area. Yeah. We officially opened our doors in 2015 years.
And Lana, what is the story behind Heavenly Promise 48? How was it started?
Heavenly Promise 48 started in Bredasdorp in 2005, and we started with children on the street and families. And then we moved to the reason I think I was molested as a child at the age of 11 years old. Quite a hectic life, but the difference was I had support of my family. And I went to a clinic and I came there out of there as free as a bird with my family support. In 2005, we registered the NPO, and that's where everything started. And we moved to Bredasdorp in 2013. And then I got in a very, very deep depression. And my husband actually said to me, Lana, why do you still sit with pajamas when I get home? Do what you do best. Go help women and children out there. And that's how it all started.
Wow, Lana, that's quite a story and quite an admission, because we don't often talk about. I can personally relate to levels of depression where you just can't even get yourself dressed, right? And having to find your way out of that. You've now been running this safe house since 2015, and Juliet Dorpie also in the press kit said that you've been following Lana for about 6 years now, collecting footage and stories. How did you meet Lana, and why a documentary on Heavenly Promise 48?
So I think everybody remembers the Anine Boysen case, the young woman that got raped and murdered in Bredasdorp, and that got quite media attention, also in German-speaking media or overseas. And I moved here in 2012, and when I read about it, I was really shocked, and I was also shocked actually about the news reporting about it. I found it quite sensationalist in times. It was focusing on what happened to her, and a lot has changed in recent years, but back then I found it was very sensationalist, and there weren't that many questions asked about why does it even happen. And maybe as an outsider coming here, I was very shocked. And I went to Bredasdorp a year after the Anine Boysen murder because politicians promised a lot of things are going to happen, a lot of things are going to change. And I just wanted to do a follow-up story. I pitched the story to my editor I work for Deutsche Welle, German international broadcaster, and they didn't want me to do the report. It's the nature of news, if nothing new happens, nobody's really interested. Mm-hmm. But when I was there, just by accident, I met Dean O'Neill, who was the then municipal manager. And I asked him and I said, look, I'm really interested in doing something. Do you know anyone who works in this field, gender-based violence, women's rights? And he said, yeah, actually, my wife. So why don't you meet her? Met with Lana, we met at the local Wimpy and had something to drink and talked. And I met her, I was so impressed by her, by, just her enthusiasm. And I immediately, then I knew I just have to follow her and I have to see what she's actually doing, trying to find out what people are doing and trying to do to change things, but also maybe trying to find out why it's so difficult to really implement a systemic change. And that's how it started. I asked her, are you fine with me doing a report or a documentary on you? Mm. And Lana was like, yeah, I think it's important that people see what's going on the ground. And that's how it started, yeah.
Oh, wow. Which is usually sort of how things start. And we find each other and we do these documentaries. Lana, Julia raised such an important point. Right? She started off with the Anine Boysen. When we think about gender-based violence, When Julia said, she wanted to do a follow-up a year later to see if anything has changed, have you, being in the thick of things, being on the front line, have you seen changes, positive changes since then?
It's hard out there, and it's hard at this safe haven at the moment. I mean, we're sitting, I think it's 4 schizophrenic intakes that we have. All bad trauma as children and a few months ago. The only thing that changed is when Minister Shana Fernandez came on board, the assistance, you can phone her 1 o'clock in the morning, she will pick up that phone. But it's getting worse because we don't have doctors on duty. We don't have enough psychologists. We don't have enough psychiatrists. Our people are getting mad at the moment. We see it. Out there, it's bad. I mean, we're sitting on, Julie knows about it because I'm thinking all the time, and with our board members, I will say, this is what's happening. I don't know which way to go. And then, 2 weeks back, I was just thinking, this madness, this mental health issues is coming from somewhere, and it's called Tik, and it's called Unga. We've got a lady that was taken to Kailicha in Cape Town. She came back. She used Unga there. She was raped by hiking from Kailicha back to the town where she lives. So the starting point should be, the root should be that the drugs because of the mental illness of our people. Not our women, GBB, but men also. Our people are walking with clothes, 10 pieces of clothes on top of each other. They don't know who you are. It's just the mental illness is bad. We don't have, in Bredasdorp, we don't have a doctor on duty after 4 o'clock. Just for a really, But otherwise, it's only the sister. The other night we were there, 1 sister and 2 nurses, and it's a full hospital. We need psychiatrists. I always say, you can't, if you went to study to become a GP, a doctor, that's what we studied for. You studied to become a social worker, that's where it stopped. What's next? Psychologist. Refer that person to the right, or do the right referral. You don't ask me the first thing, do they hear voices? Do they see things? We need psychologists, we need psychiatrists in the Department of Health. We really need that because of our people who's really mental, they're gone. They're gone because of drugs. And we're busy with something at the moment. It's very confidential at the moment. I'm not going to say what it is, but we want to know what contains that bag of tip that our women buy in that area of Cape Town, or this area of Bredasdorp, or that area in wherever. Because if we know what it contains, we know they use rat poison, handy, all those things. It's just a little bit of crystal meth that they use, and then they add those things. So if a doctor knows in the blood, they draw the blood and they know what that bag of tip contains or what they use, then they can get help and the right help and the right diagnosis. Because our government, we know they only give certain tablets. And my feeling, which is really, I'm a very dumb person, my feeling is our brains, each and every individual brains must be different. the chemical balance of imbalance of my brain and the one of my husband can't be the same. So psychiatrists, social workers, psychiatrists. That's what our people need. I mean, if you come into this house now, where I'm sitting, you will be shocked. The mayor was yesterday, they handed over, we say thank you to them, a laptop and a computer. But people really don't realize what's happening in South Africa. I'm not talking about Bredasdorp.
Yeah.
GBB, we've got a woman that her fingers were cut off with a, what do you call it? A vineyard scissor man.
Sure.
Those are the things. The drugs, what they do, the people, the one lady that used to be here, she had to sleep with this guy, with the men, to get a place to sleep, for bed for the evening. And I also had another one, it's happening now, that it's the syphilis, then it goes to neurosyphilis. If you look at neurosyphilis, it's something to do with the brain. So those are all the part of all our history here. And it's getting worse. And that's my concern, because what must you do? The moment when you get that diagnosis, they phone you and say, this person must come in, the blood is bad. Now you get this news. What do you do now? You have to contact each and every person who this lady slept with. But if you go back to the root of the evil, the trauma of that woman, each and every woman in this house who came through this house since 2015, 99% of them were raped as children and currently. Sorry, that's me. Julia knows me. But that's it. That's what we need. The mental health system we need that resources. We don't need meetings. I refuse to go sit in a meeting because I don't waste my time. Because the 2 hours that I'm sitting there with mineral water and wait for the lunch, I can assist someone. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. Now, all of that is so necessary. What I find fascinating is, how you are, and I was going to ask you actually now when you said 99% of the cases had child abuse in it, because what you're describing is a link, a link with a root in childhood trauma that was often untreated. You spoke about with your own experience and how you were able to process that to a degree was because the support of your family. But we know, especially girls and women, do not get support of the family. And I think if you even go into smaller towns, we've spoken about the Womxn Show largely about how young girls are ostracized by the community and their families and stuff. And this is linked to, she's not a virgin anymore. Doesn't matter how that happened, but she is not a virgin anymore. She's been, she's been raped, and this removes the support from within her own family and the community. And the other side of it is that often families don't know how to deal with something like that. And so, and how that then leads to mental health issues, untreated mental health issues. And what you're speaking about now is linking up the scourge of many people that are on drugs, often as a result of untreated mental health issues. And so do you think, and I'm just going to do an open-ended question here, what you're describing also is that we need to look at gender-based violence and mental health as two sides of the same coin.
Yes, for sure, because we work also close with the hospital. We've got a social worker volunteers here, and she will phone the social worker at the hospital, and then if there is a bed available, they will say, she will speak to the doctor, and we will take them up, or if someone get like a wave that we call it here, and because of the schizophrenia, they also get these waves. It's just like that. Then you don't know what to do. And then we will take them up, and they will assist if there's beds available. And the problem is to take that person to help that person until the end. We can go on medication for the rest of our lives. But if we don't touch the root with a psychiatrist, psychologist, and the referral from there, because we've got a booster, I think, clinic or clinic for the government patients, and then we sent over the since 2005, I think it's 2 or 3 that were sent to Mitchell's Plain. You have to complete the form. It's an involuntary form that the patient has to be admitted. But your problem, then it stops there. There's no places available, or there's no openings in those places. It all depends. Do you have family still left who can look after you? And then that's a no-go because there's family. We sitting with a cookie, Margaret Potako, since 2015. Then she goes home, then I have to pick her up again because I can't, and the trauma there is beyond trauma, really. Julia knows it quite well. So she doesn't have, a family doesn't, they're not interested. That's my cross. And don't say heavenly promise cross, that's my cross. And I will never, I actually spoke to one counselor yesterday. If she dies now, she doesn't have an ID, she's got nothing. The other one we had, we went to the police station 2-3 years back to see the fingerprints. We call it a springbokkie. If the police are looking for you, you run from one town to another town. We call it springbokkie. They couldn't find anything on her. We actually tried Sasa with all the surnames the other lady gave us. Nothing. We can't get Sasa for her. The other one don't have an ID. This one. So where do they go? They can't stay here forever. So we need places, especially with a mental illness, for people to go to get help and to test. We call it test because you test with a blood test, you test which medication is perfect for this person. And then that person can be said, you're okay to go back and go back into a community. But we don't have places like that. Hospital, medication, prescription medication, clinic, nothing further. The psychiatrist, the psychiatric system has so many patients. She can't get to all the patients in a month. Yes, she can't. We got one psychiatrist here. I don't know how many times that person come here.
Julia, thank you.
What about our people? What about our community? And if government can't just realize that, then it's just going to be worse. And our people are going to die. Our woman is going to die. Our woman is going to sell their bodies for nothing, for a fix. And that is how it's out there. Not in Bredasdorp or over.
I hear you, Julia, and thank you so much. And that's it's such a powerful question that if their family, or if there's no place to go, where are they going to go? We need to take a short break quickly, but we will be back with more after this. Welcome back. You're still watching The Womxn Show, and we are speaking about gender-based violence in small towns based on a new documentary that is out called Dorpie. And joining us in studio is the director, Julia Yaki, and also the woman that the documentary is about, Lana O'Neill, who runs Heavenly Promise 48, which is a safe house in Bredasdorp. And so, Julia, I wanted to just come to you and ask you, you've obviously engaged with this, with the safe house, and indirectly with gender-based violence over the past 6 years as you've been following Lana. And I want to ask, were there specific things that surprised you, and not just cases of gender-based violence, because we know that they are very shocking. And I'm sure over the 6 years, you almost become used to the ruthlessness of it, but also just from a systemic perspective, in terms of, lack of services or anything else, like what really shocked you?
What shocked me was to see how it's really almost like a fight against windmills. I mean, Lana just explained their daily work and the decisions they have to make. And I was really shocked about, how Lana does all that. She's not getting paid for it. And yet there's so many obstacles in the way. There's people who talk badly about, her and the safe house. They think they're getting favors or something and trying to, maybe even enrich themselves, which they're not doing. There are politicians who promise things and don't deliver on it. And there's just such a big lack of resources. And I was thinking, if Lana tomorrow says, I'm done, not doing this anymore, what's going to happen? Who's going to fill the gap? And that was really shocking to me. And on a positive note, it is wonderful to see that there are women out there like Lana who just commit their life to helping women and trying to fill this gap, which should be filled by government and by also the civil society. But we're all not doing enough. Politicians are not doing enough. So you need people who do it on a voluntary basis, people such as Lana. And if they don't do it, then we're even worse off. Women are worse off. So, yeah.
Thank you, Julia. Lana, I want to come to something that Julia said. She's talking about, again, to come back to, one of the things that really struck me was that this is the only safe house in the Overberg region. Right? What is if Heavenly Promise is providing this service exclusively, what is your capacity for how many women, and how does it feel to service, such a large area?
Yeah, it's 20, we can accommodate 20 women with small dependents. And Heavenly Promise got that we don't send people away. Especially even if there's no money. Over the years, they had to eat baked beans, just with bread. But we survived. We really survived. And if someone found from Swellendam or from Grabouw, we had a lady years back that her life was in danger, 22 years old, because she was in a gangsterism relationship, and she had to hide here. So how can we say no? Because then we're going to have another invoice. So we look at that, and luckily there's always food to eat in this house. Over the years, I also think some people do acknowledge our work, because we Checkers, we get vegetables every day from Checkers, fruit from Checkers, so that's coming in. Julia and her friends, her dad, they really help with donations. I think Julia is since COVID started for this woman, and to provide food for the community when COVID started out there, which we actually gave every day. But I can just say we are blessed, because there's always food in this house. If I'm not here, they will walk to the clinic. This morning we went to the clinic. I took the two ladies with the social work, I took to the clinic with my car to 7. But then we got that shocking news. And then I said, I don't think I must do this interview, because what we just heard was so bad. And we had to, go sit and just say, let's drink coffee and see what's next. So improvising all the time, but food always. If there's no food, I will take out of my house, and I'll ask people, family, to assist. But that's it. I do get with assistance. I only get a 4,000 rand a month for the work that I do, which is okay, because this place is for the community. One of the ladies actually asked yesterday, Auntie Lana, is this do you have two houses? Said, no, my house is in Sunshine. This house belongs to the women out there and the children, not me. So we do survive. We so okay. And I think people see it's not that it wasn't an overnight NPO that came in, because what happened, it was advertisement that was placed in the local newspaper. Only this building without nothing. Heavenly Promise was the only, when the tender was open at 12 o'clock that day, Heavenly Promise was the only NPO that applied for this. And then Asla came on board because they built this house. Afrimat furnished the house, the old wing. So that's how it all started. And then we really, a lot of play, because this Lana, where she coming from, she's coming to, but nobody applied to that tender. Heavenly Promise was the only one. So surviving, yes, we do.
Wow, Lana, and I don't know how, under those circumstances. Julia, I want to ask you a question. During the break, we were chatting about the media and how the media sort of covers gender-based violence. And you had said before the break, you were saying, you know, initially you wanted to do a follow-up and you pitched the story and they weren't interested. And, you know, the Womxn Show was started because of a similar thing. The way gender-based violence is covered is often focused on sort of the gruesome details, but not the underlying systems that crop up or that don't assist to eradicate gender-based violence, or systems that don't work the way they were supposed to. And so I wanted to ask you, you know, in making this documentary, how did you engage with GBV so that it could look at those deeper issues? Were there elements that you needed to consider also in terms of reporting safely, especially when interviewing victims?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's such a delicate subject matter, and I think why I decided to do the documentary is I was almost a bit happy that I didn't get the news assignment, because it always limits you to like 3 to 5 minutes, and it's such a complex issue, especially in South Africa. I mean, gender-based violence is like it's a worldwide issue, but here there's so many factors that play a role, and you can't report that in 3 to 5 minutes. So I made a decision back then and said this has to be a longer documentary, so you can show like all the nuances. And when reporting on it, I filmed with Lana, and while I was filming, I didn't even think too much about it because there was no funding, and I didn't even know if this film is ever going to be made. But as soon as we were in the editing room, we realized what a ethical minefield this is, editing this film, because you want to, on the one hand, show what Lana is doing, and it's a verite documentary. We're almost like a fly on the wall, and we want to see as directly as possible what she's doing. But on the other hand, we have to protect the women and the vulnerable people out there. So what the decision we made in the editing room is to blur, obviously, the faces of minors that you can see in the background, where we don't have permission from the parents. We don't even know who the parents are. So we blurred all their faces, which from a filmmaker's perspective is obviously doesn't look so pretty, but it's our duty to do that. The film starts with a scene of a young woman that Lana picks up under the bridge, and she is on drugs. She doesn't really realize that we're filming. So even if we get her permission later on, we decided to blur her face because
ethical consent.
Ethical consent, exactly. Another thing is I made 1 or 2 interviews with women who stayed at a safe house at that time. And then I also thought, you know what, I don't even want to delve too much in their personal stories, because we can assume as a viewer that they have a reason to be at the safe house. So we're showing them with their consent, but I don't have to actually hear everything that happened to her, because there is a reason why she's there with her children, or why the young girls are there. And also I thought, are they really, like, I interviewed one of the younger girls there. She was over 18, but still a young person. And then I thought, is it even to her, it could be to her disadvantage to reveal what happened to her and what her issues are on camera. So we decided to not do that. And there is one scene with a woman who's also high on drugs, and Lana struggles with the decision what to do with her. So even though later on we got the consent, we blurred her face. And there's also scenes that we filmed that we thought that are too crass, so we didn't edit them in. So it was always this balance of showing the trauma out there, showing the difficult decisions Lana has to make, but also trying to not exploit it, you know, just for the sake of having a sensational story there. And we still have that in the film because of, you know, what happened while we were filming. While we were filming, 2 more murders happened. Sunita Mano was raped and killed, and Jadine Peters. So it was actually insane. We filmed, and Lana called it and said, if community doesn't work together, we will have another rape and murder. And it happened, and then it happened again. So we have that already in there. So yeah, we thought, okay, that's enough. We don't need more details of gender-based violence. We all know it's out there and what's actually happening, yeah.
Wow. Lana, I want to ask you, so this work can be very depressing work in and of itself. And we bring a lot of, the majority of them are women who start and run these organizations. And so, all of the challenges that you were speaking about, too few doctors, not enough resources, even just food on the table and keeping the lights on, are challenges in shelters across South Africa. There's documented underfunding of shelters in South Africa. So how do you manage to stay with it and to stay positive? Can I say, I listened to a podcast yesterday, and it's not South African, but the community worker in there said, she read a quote that said, "Hope is a weapon." And I just wanted to ask you, also because Julia said, you know, the murders haven't ceased, the rapes haven't ceased, you are working directly with this, you are continually exposed to this. How do you stay hopeful?
Hope. Each and every woman and a dependent that enter this house, the moment they enter this door and they feel the love that they get here, because I've got that, if I don't care, I will hug and I will embrace each and every woman or child that enters this house. And it's already for me hope. They didn't get it out there, nobody supported them, we don't have family, nobody believes me. And then you get here. But we can do it for a little while. But once again, with no resources out there, they're going to go back into the community and do the same thing. And be a battered woman, because we've got battered women. And remember, the battered woman is not only our poor community. We've got battered women and so many executives and grand people, battered women. And I've got, I think I've got that gift. God gave me that gift to look at a woman and say to my husband, "You're Lana O'Neill, this woman is really a battered woman." I can see a pedophile. Julia knows me. I will tell her, I'm telling you this guy is a pedophile. But we're not allowed to say it. But there's hope out there. And revenge. What is revenge? Hope is your revenge. That's all you can say. Hope is your revenge. And I go home and I will tell my husband and my children, I'm not okay. Too much was happening, I'm not okay. And then we will sit and talk and I will debrief. I will debrief and I will switch off my phone and put on my WhatsApp status, I'm not available for the weekend or the night. It happens seldom, but I sometimes do that. And then I'm a Roman Catholic. We do the rosary and we believe in the rosary that it makes you calm and protects you. So that's how I know.
Thank you, Lana. And Julia, we don't have a lot of time left, but I want to ask, what is your hope for this film? Like, where do you think it will go? How do you hope that it will touch people?
My hope is that, people just see that there are people like Lana out there who do so much and who get, sometimes not enough recognition in my view. So that's my hope, like just shine a light on independent community workers, women's activists, safe houses. And my hope is that some stakeholders see it, politicians see it, and I mean, we have to be realistic about what they're doing, but still that they just, this is not a short news report. We followed Lana over the course of many years, and they just really see where the issue is. I mean, we see a politician in the film who promises things and doesn't deliver, and just put the finger, on the spot and in the wound. And my other hope is just also to evoke empathy, because very often if it's not happening in my backyard, I'm not really that much interested, and that's something where I'm just like, it doesn't matter where it happens, if it happens in a poorer area or wherever, it's we all have to have empathy for one another. We all have to ask ourselves, how can I help a vulnerable woman? We can't change the whole system. We can't eradicate gender-based violence, but actually my producer Antoinette, she had this idea, maybe we can just ask people to ask themselves, how can we help a woman that's in need, that's vulnerable, maybe in our neighborhood, in our family, wherever. Just like start small, everything counts, like Lana says. Like, we can't change the whole system, but every woman that can be helped is something that's better, that can make this place better.
I love that answer, and I love also, I think, hoping to generate empathy. And I think beyond sort of gender-based violence, Lana, when you spoke about the escalation onto drugs, or then onto streets, or women who are forced to sleep with men for some place to sleep themselves, or then again, you're saying with no resources, they're going out and they become a battered woman again. And often society judges that as them making choices, right? And I found that we are as a society, are very intolerant, especially once they're on drugs. They stop looking at it as a mental health issue. They start looking at it as this person is responsible for their own state and so forth. So I love that you brought that up, and I love that Lana brought this up really in detail, so we can start shifting out the ways that we think about victims also. Lana, quickly, we have, I think, 1.5 minutes. How can people support Heavenly Promise 48?
Heavenly Promise will always need food. Bread, because of, especially, we're not a drug rehabilitation center, but if there's a dependent with a mother and a dependent, because our system also fails us, if there's a baby, the mother says a drug addict, then they take the baby away. There's no resources to assist that woman to become a parent because of all the trauma and the vicious cycle that continues. Her mother, their grandmother, what? So what do? We give them a chance here. So we need bread, we need food, we need electricity money, we don't want to ask for money, but we need the necessities for us to keep these doors open, for people, women to eat and to be happy in this house.
Okay, thank you so much, Lana, and thank you so much, Julia. This was a great interview. We have to take a short break, but we'll be back with more after this. Welcome back. You're still watching The Womxn Show, and we have been speaking about gender-based violence in small towns and the documentary Dorpie that has followed a community worker who founded a safe house. Now, before we go, we are going to play a few more clips from the documentary Dorpie. Let's have a look.
Kind dat jy alleen is so. Nou, wat gebruik jy alles?
Net ek en papa.
Jy nie lus om lekker te slaap slag.
Baie lank al.
Skit sy die Lana uit toe. Okay. En is aan die sakkie?
Was dat jou op het doen?
Is daar niks meer nie?
Ja.
Okay. Verkoop jy ook? Hè?
Ai, baie manne wat vir my wil hê vir slaper as my wil nie.
Manne met karre? Dan is dit wit manne of bruin manne?
Jy mekaar.
Is so. Dan maak dit in op. Is meer pitte man. Baie pitte. Nou kom ons gaan gemaak vir jou veilige huis, né? Jy gaan veilig wees. Wat is er nou in petrol of kom?
Naxie en Lana. De schoen.
Die jokkie is nie skoon nie.
Ja, daar gaan Lana.
Jou werkie. Die man staan Julle kruk jou reg man, jy's een van die oudstes hierso. En al die ander kleintjies, ons het nou al die meisies uit die brug uit. En vir hulle sê hulle kom nie sy vas toe nie, en die Lana gaan hulle laat opsluit as hulle sy vas toe kom. En daai 2 honde gaan hulle bene afbyt. Nee. Baba julle. Bye julle. Ons het mos nog gesê vir jou, Mary Jane en gaan in. Gaan in. Dat ek wat die goed daar. Kom, gaan in toe. Koekie. Ons het mos nou, jy moet ons aan die hospitaal gebring. Wat het ons nou gedoen? Sê gou wat het ons gedoen? Kom in, net ons kom praat oor verlin. Kom. Kom Koekie. Koekie, ek is moeg. Kom. Banana. Kom eens uit.
Ja, maar. Ons het jou nou jaar. Ja, dat is te laat om te jaar. Hy het wat ek met jou gehad het en wat ek gister gekry het. Nou, jy gaan dit bedoel. Dit nou gebeur. Het gaan met kind dood.
Die kind die Koekie. Koekie, dus 13 maande gelede was ons by ons hier gewees. Is 13 maande terug.
Ek het wel die tip afgeëet daarna.
Ek weet, en die Lana weet dit. I know that.
Ja, is mijn plek. Ik ga mijn laatste doen.
We can't blame this generation. Have a look at the men. How did they grow up? In an abusive relationship? I mean, if you look at the shack, we are 10 in that shack. We drink, we take, we have sex in front of our children. And while we're under the influence of any substance, what do? We fight. That infant and children, what do they think? It's normal. So the domestic violence, it's like that circle. People must just come together, get out of their luxury homes, But as long as the community say, it's not my problem, it's their problem, they want to be like that, we're always going to have another rape or another murder.
Those were a few more clips from the documentary Dorpie that looks at gender-based violence in Bredasdorp. And that brings us to the end of our hour together. Now, please keep your eye out for the website of Heavenly Promise Safe House that will show up on screen. But that is the end of the show. Thank you for joining us. I'm Lenina Rasool. Goodbye.